Henry Cavill's Superman was done dirty by DC and Warner Brothers, but what superhero or supervillain might be a good fit for him at Marvel? Let's discuss. What's up, my comic comrades? We are definitely not alone in being upset about the way Warner Brothers and DC handled Henry Cavill and his role as Superman, especially after the recent mess created by The Rock and his Black Adam movie, where after years of neglect, Cavill was promised he'd finally be able to return to the role. Cavill was brought in last minute to make an appearance as Superman opposite Black Adam in the movie's mid-credits scene, then was told to post an announcement video for fans talking about big things to come. Fans were excited, Cavill was happy to be back in the cape, and then 2 months later the rug was pulled out from under Cavill and fans alike once again when James Gunn and Peter Safran took the reins at DC and announced they were going to scrap Man of Steel 2 and move forward with a younger version of Superman for a new Superman legacy film that will be released in 2025. And just like that, Henry Cavill's Man of Steel was sent packing again. It was annoying and unnecessarily embarrassing. However, as dumb as that was, it does open the door for Cavill to take on another comic character for the other team, if you will. Yes, I'm talking about Marvel, so let's talk about the 10 Marvel characters we think the former Superman actor could be a great fit for on the big screen. First up, let's get an obvious one out of the way, and that of course is Sentry. Sentry is often referred to as Marvel's answer to Superman. Although he is definitely a Superman-like character, there's another Marvel character who's quite literally Marvel Superman, but more on that later. The point is, Sentry is a cape-wearing, incredibly powerful hero. He's kind of a mix between Captain America and Superman, as Sentry got his powers from an experimental super soldier formula, but has Superman-level strength. In any case, because of this, Cavill would be a perfect Sentry. Sentry is just kind of a darker version of Superman, as Robert Reynolds, aka Sentry, is in constant battle with his dark side, so to speak, the Void. And I think Cavill could nail that role perfectly. I mean, he was a great Superman, and he's a great Geralt from The Witcher, which I think kind of embodies a little bit of that Sentry type vibe, as it's a little darker. Meaning basically, we already know he would be able to nail the Sentry role based off the great job he's done as Superman and The Witcher. Now, like every casting on this list, this is a dream cast, although Cavill playing Sentry is the most unlikely on this list. Reason being, I may or may not be pretty positive that Steven Yeun, who has just been cast in the Thunderbolts movie, will be playing Sentry for the MCU. Just remember, when the news officially breaks, I was here saying I told you so. The next character Cavill would be fantastic at is Hyperion. Now, this is the character I was saying earlier that is Marvel's Superman. Don't believe me? Well, he was rocketed from his planet that was dying to the 616 Marvel Earth and is powered by solar energy. See what I'm saying? Next time someone says Sentry is just Marvel Superman, be like, incorrect. The character you're looking for is Hyperion. Anyway, it's obvious why Cavill would nail the role of Hyperion, because we know Cavill does an excellent job playing extremely powerful heroes who wear capes. And since the character is so closely based off of Superman, it would be a massive FU to DC and Warner Brothers to be like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna go be Marvel Superman and see how you like that. Man, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, this would be awesome. With that said, let's move on, because clearly Marvel Superman archetypes are given, but now let's get into some more not so obvious characters we think he would nail. Let's pretend you just got yourself a new phone and you're looking for the best mobile game to play. Boom, Raid Shadow Legends, you're welcome. Raid is an amazing mobile RPG and longtime sponsor here on Variant. In fact, the first time we talked about them, we were still on a green screen and I hadn't started shaving my head yet. Well, just like Variant, Raid Shadow Legends has upgraded a ton ever since with regular new updates and content. This is one of my go-to mobile games to kick back with. It's free to play, has millions of players, amazing graphics, and tons of awesome bosses to take on. But this April, Raid is going all out with an AR-style dragon egg hunt where you'll be able to scour the dragon's lair using your phone, and if you find the hidden egg, you'll be in for a chance to win amazing in-game items like legendary champions and even real-life prizes, including Amazon gift cards with a total value of $20,000. To get in on the action, just download Raid using the links below, copy your in-game player ID, and then head over to egghunt.plarium.com from April 14th to May 15th. The AR Dragon Egg Hunt event is for new players, so don't miss it. As a bonus, when you use our link in the description or scan our QR code on the screen, new players will also pick up the Epic Champion Knight Errant, along with other helpful items like energy refills, skill tome, or XP boosters. Just hit our link in the description and I'll see you on the battlefield. Next up is freaking Galactus. That's right, I think Cavill would be a dope Galactus. It would be very similar to how Josh Brolin played Thanos, where he was the voice and motion capture, as Galactus would have to be almost entirely CGI. Just think about it, Cavill's face would look perfect underneath that giant helmet. Not only that, his voice would be cool as hell, because you know they would modify it and make it all sound epic in post. Plus, I think Cavill just has the demeanor to do it, playing a character who is essentially this force of nature who needs to kill worlds to survive. It would also be fun to see him playing a villain. Almost every time we see him, he's the hero or anti-hero, so this would definitely flip that on its head, allowing us to see a whole different side of Cavill than that I'm sure he would be amazing at. Not to mention, talk about making an entrance into the MCU. For Cavill to become one of Marvel's most prolific and iconic villains, who would undoubtedly be the big bad for the MCU for several years, would be insane. And again, just look at Galactus' head. His face would look awesome behind the helmet. His face even kind of looks like Cavill. Another character Cavill would be awesome at is Gladiator. Now, Gladiator is an X-Men universe character that is yet again another Superman-like character in some ways. Gladiator is one of those characters who's a hero or a villain depending on the situation. Anyway, we know the MCU is getting ready to fully introduce the X-Men, meaning they're gonna need to introduce some X-Men antagonists, and Gladiator would be a perfect one, and Cavill could do an excellent job in the role. Gladiator is super imposing and incredibly strong. He basically has all the same powers of Superman. Plus, come on, who wouldn't want to see Henry Cavill sporting that massive pop collar and mohawk? Next up, we have quite an obvious character he should play, and one the fandom has been very vocal about, and that of course is Captain Britain. This is probably the most perfect role for him because Cavill is British himself, so why not play Captain Britain? If you guys aren't familiar with Captain Britain from the comics, he was chosen by Merlin to become protector of Great Britain, and he is also one of the founding members of Excalibur, which is essentially Britain's version of the X-Men. So again, like I said, with Gladiator, we know the MCU is getting ready to introduce mutants and X-Men into the MCU, so why not give us another X-Men universe character, Captain Britain, who's a founding member of Excalibur, one of the most loved offshoots of the X-Men. Making Henry Cavill a buff British guy who we all love, aka Captain Britain, just makes all the sense in the world, which is why they won't do it. Next, I feel Cavill would be a great Mr. Sinister. Marvel has been pushing Mr. Sinister in their comic books quite a lot recently. Wouldn't this be a good one, Mr. Sinister? Think about it. I mean, they just wrapped up the Sins of Sinister event, which was centered around him, meaning they're probably doing this because they know he's going to make his MCU debut relatively soon, and let me tell you something, Henry Cavill would do a fantastic job as the character. And again, it would just be really fun to see him play a villain. As much as I would love him to be Hyperion, Sentry, Captain Britain, and so on, I kind of want him to be a little bit on the villainous side. And playing Mr. Sinister is a perfect choice. Playing Nathaniel Essex, a man obsessed with genetics and an expert in mutant cloning, creating and enhancing, I want it. And giving him a character like Mr. Sinister would guarantee he would be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for a good amount of time. Because if they do Mr. Sinister right, which, God, I hope so, you can't just kill him off in his first appearance. He needs to be around for a while, kind of like Loki, but they would probably kill him off. And just look at some of the illustrations of Mr. Sinister. I could totally see Cavill with that nice slick back hair, white face, and red eyes. Keeping this Cavill train rolling, he would also be cool as Beyonder. I know there's been a lot of rumors of the Beyonder coming, or Kang potentially being Beyonder as well, or at least a variant of his, but let me tell you something. Like I keep saying with every character on this list, he would rock this role. Beyonder is an extra-dimensional, incredibly powerful entity. He is called Beyonder because he is beyond all. He is easily one of the most powerful characters Marvel has to offer. He was also the reason for the Secret Wars, so imagine Cavill being the character for the upcoming Avengers Secret Wars movie that is the mastermind or manipulator behind the Secret Wars, which is rumored to bring back every live-action version of a Marvel character we've ever seen, like Edward Norton Hulk, Nick Cage Ghost Rider, Snipes Blade, Ben Affleck Daredevil, and more. And Cavill as the Beyonder would be the dude causing all of that. Not a bad gig at all. Okay, hear me out. Doctor Doom. We all know Doctor Doom is coming. A Fantastic Four movie is already in pre-production, meaning Doom is coming. I personally think they should have introduced him at the end of Wakanda Forever, but either way, he will be in the MCU soon. And Mr. Henry, good old Superman, could knock that role out of the park. Funny thing is, Doctor Doom was also a massive part of the Secret Wars storyline, both the original one and the sequel from 2015. And both Secret Wars also heavily involved the Beyonder. So if not the Beyonder, let's get him as Doctor Doom, one of the most iconic villains in all of comics. And it would also guarantee that Cavill would be in the MCU for quite some time, because Doom is a character much like Loki that you would have to keep around for a very long time. That's not a one and done role, and Doom is one of the most powerful characters in Marvel. Man, it would be awesome to see Henry Cavill wearing that armor and having all those mystical powers and being one of the smartest minds as well. It just makes me sad because it's probably not gonna happen. All right, this is the second to last pick, and that's gonna be Beta Ray Bill. Beta Ray Bill is coming. He's been teased in Thor Ragnarok, and Thor has been wielding Stormbreaker, his hammer, for many films. So why not make Cavill Beta Ray Bill, an equal to Thor? Again, it would be a character much like Thanos, where he would just have to provide the voice and motion capture, but I think that would be awesome. And not to mention, Bill is a beast. It would be fun to see Henry do a character where you don't necessarily see his face. And Beta Ray Bill is a fan-loved character. We would be ecstatic to have someone like Cavill play him, as we all love Cavill, but whether Cavill plays Bill or not, can we just introduce him already? What's taking so damn long? Just make it happen. happen. At this point, get rid of Thor, bye-bye Thor, and give us Beta Ray Bill, okay? And the last character we think Cavill could or should play in the MCU might be my favorite pick thus far, and that is Ares, the God of War. Tell me this doesn't seem like the most perfect fit for Cavill. He would be playing Marvel's God of War, the son of Zeus. And his arc is dope. He would initially fight against Thor, his own brother Hercules, and then the Avengers for years before ultimately he was asked to join the Avengers. And in the comics, he becomes a card-carrying member of Norman Osborn's Dark Avengers as well. Simply put, Cavill as the God of War would be utter savagery and quite possibly the coolest Marvel character the MCU has introduced thus far. Honestly, we think it would be a perfect casting, which makes it heartbreaking to know it's probably never gonna happen. Especially considering Cavill has already announced he's developing a project to adapt the Warhammer game into a series or movie for Amazon, which could be dope, but Ares would be better. But that's a wrap on our picks for the 10 Marvel characters Henry Cavill could play in the MCU. And now it's your turn to sound off. Let us know who you would like him to play in the MCU down in the comments.